Imagine a place, a stretch of road, where drivers experience the same inexplicable phenomenon, a momentary total blackout. Not a dizzy spell, not a medical issue, a shared collective amnesia of driving through a specific, unremarkable section of highway. This isn't a scene from a science fiction movie, it's a real-world enigma that has plagued motorists for decades, leaving behind a chilling trail of confused testimonies and a geographic anomaly that, by all logical accounts, simply shouldn't exist. Today we're diving into the unnerving tale of a particular stretch of Interstate 70 in rural Colorado, a seemingly innocuous few miles between the towns of Glenwood Springs and Rifle. For over 50 years, truckers, commuters, and tourists alike have reported driving into this zone, only to emerge moments later with no recollection of the journey. They don't remember the landscape, the road signs, or even the act of driving itself. The time simply vanishes. It's not a common occurrence for every single driver, certainly not. But the frequency, the consistency of the reports, and the remarkably similar descriptions of the experience are what make this more than just an urban legend. It's a recurring, deeply unsettling glitch in reality. What could possibly cause such a widespread shared amnesia? Is it some peculiar atmospheric condition, a natural electromagnetic anomaly, or something far more unnerving, something that defies our current understanding of perception and consciousness? To comprehend the sheer strangeness of this blind spot, we need to untangle its history, examine the accounts, and confront the unsettling implications. Our story, or rather the countless individual stories, truly began to coalesce in the late 1960s and early 1970s. As I-70 started carrying more traffic, particularly long-haul truckers, the reports began to trickle in. Drivers, often seasoned veterans of the road, would pull into Rifle, consult their logbooks, and discover a discrepancy. A 5 to 10 minute section of their journey was simply missing from their memory. They remembered entering the canyon near Glenwood, and then suddenly they were past the crucial stretch, sometimes with a vague sense of having blinked or drifted off for a moment, yet clearly still in control of their vehicle. There were no signs of falling asleep at the wheel, no swerving, no near misses, just a blank. Early psychiatric evaluations on a few affected individuals found nothing abnormal, no signs of narcolepsy, epilepsy, or any other underlying condition that could explain such a precise, geographically localized memory void. Local law enforcement, initially skeptical, began to accumulate incident reports where drivers genuinely couldn't account for those miles. One particularly harrowing account came from a family in 1978. They were traveling during the day, the children awake in the back. The parents both experienced the blank, only to come to with their car having seamlessly navigated a particularly tricky curve, something neither could recall doing. Their children, however, had also reported a strange, quiet moment when the landscape seemed to jump forward. This detail, shared by multiple independent observers within the same vehicle, suggested it was more than just a personal memory lapse. It was an environmental shift, a shared perceptual void. The phenomenon wasn't just affecting individuals, it seemed to be affecting time itself, at least within their immediate reality bubble. As the decades wore on, the reports evolved, adding new layers of mystery. While the classic memory void remained the most common symptom, some drivers began to describe secondary, more bizarre effects. A common thread among these more extreme cases involved subtle sensory distortions just before and after the blank. Drivers would report a peculiar hush descending over the car, a sudden dampening of road noise, or a faint, almost imperceptible hum that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere. Animal behavior also became a point of interest. Locals who lived near the affected stretch recalled how wildlife, particularly birds, seemed to avoid flying over that specific section of the highway, or would sometimes exhibit disoriented flight patterns when forced to cross it. A few particularly observant individuals even noted that their cars' digital clocks or radio displays would sometimes flicker or momentarily reset during the period immediately before or after the blind spot experience, though this was inconsistent and often dismissed as unrelated electrical glitches. Attempts to measure electromagnetic fluctuations in the area using portable equipment in the 1990s yielded inconclusive results. Some localized anomalies were detected, but nothing substantial enough to explain such a profound cognitive disruption. Conspiracy theories began to sprout, suggesting everything from secret government experiments with scalar waves to an undiscovered natural portal. The area was investigated by various independent researchers and even a few fringe scientific groups, but no definitive cause was ever pinpointed. The most frustrating aspect was that the phenomenon wasn't constant. Many drivers could pass through the area routinely without incident, while others would experience it repeatedly. It was elusive, unpredictable, and devastatingly consistent when it did occur, always within that same few miles. The most unsettling incident, the one that truly forced a more desperate inquiry, occurred in 2007. A seasoned interstate bus driver, known for his impeccable record and adherence to safety protocols, was navigating the route with a bus full of passengers. He had driven this particular stretch of I-70 hundreds of times. That evening, just as he entered the anomalous zone, he, along with several passengers who later corroborated his account, experienced the hush and the subsequent blank. What made this particular incident stand out was its immediate aftermath. The driver came to only to realize his bus had veered dangerously close to the median. He quickly corrected, heart pounding. But it wasn't just the near miss that was terrifying. Both he and several passengers reported that the time on their personal devices, phones, watches, had jumped forward by roughly 11 minutes. Not just their subjective perception, but the actual measurable time displayed on their gadgets. This wasn't a memory gap, this was a temporal displacement, albeit a small one. The bus's onboard navigation system showed a perfectly continuous journey, no sudden acceleration or deceleration, no unusual G-forces. It recorded the elapsed time as normal, yet for those on the bus, a tangible chunk of time had apparently vanished, only to be compensated for by a jump in their personal clocks. This was a direct, undeniable challenge to the fundamental laws of physics as we understand them, affecting multiple observers and their technology simultaneously. The bus company immediately launched an internal investigation, but beyond confirming the drivers' and passengers' distress and consistent testimonies, they found no mechanical fault with the bus itself. The State Patrol reopened its own dormant file on the blind spot phenomenon, but again, without a concrete, replicable cause, they were at a loss. To this day, the blind spot on I-70 between Glenwood Springs and Rifle remains an open wound in our collective understanding of reality. Is it a unique geological or atmospheric condition that interacts with the human brain in an as-yet undiscovered way, perhaps triggering localized transient global amnesia in susceptible individuals, amplified by some unseen force? Is it a subtle electromagnetic field influencing both human cognition and digital devices? Or is it something more profound, something that hints at a pliable, less deterministic universe than we comfortably assume? The consistency of the reports, the shared experiences within vehicles, and the recent unsettling detail of clock jumps make it impossible to dismiss as mere misperception or anecdotal error. It stands as a chilling reminder that there are still corners of our world, even on well-traveled highways, where the rules seem to bend, where time can seemingly glitch, and where our very senses can betray us in ways that leave us with profound and terrifying questions. The blind spot isn't just a place on a map, it's a gap in our fundamental understanding, a portal to the unknown, lurking silently on a road we all assume is entirely predictable. If you want more unsettling tales of reality's uncanny anomalies, leave a like and subscribe. The next video delves into the chilling disappearances along the Devil's Sea. Until then, stay curious and maybe, just maybe, double-check your clocks when you're driving through those quieter stretches of road.